solution about the disease diagnosis and its identification, so that the cancer is there or not by using different fMRI nowadays. So next is drug discovery and manufacturing. Even in drug discovery, if new drugs come in the market, lot of research behind that exists. So for drug discovery also, nowadays scientists use machine learning tools. Very commonly used machine learning technique is with the help of medical imaging. Machine learning or deep learning is used to get very minute information also from the fMRI images, so that the disease can be diagnosed correctly and timely, so that it cannot produce a much harm to the patient. Next application is personalized medicine or treatment. So every person may have the same, many person may have the same disease, but they may not need the same kind of medication. So personalized medicine or treatment is also a very important task to perform. Next is smart health and record. Monitoring of daily routine, monitoring of daily record is really very important, plays very important role. For example, to monitor BP, to monitor diabetes daily manually on the manual basis, again it becomes a very typical task. So that machine learning tools are also used for this task also. Next is disease prediction. Means one of the research says that in next 10 years, how many of the person can get heart attack out of 300 patients. So the machine diagnoses correctly. So this is also a very important role to get some prediction about this. Maybe whatever is the condition of our body, that can be used to determine to predict the disease coming in the future years. So this is also important. All these are different areas in medical sciences and all uses the machine learning. Now there are different kind of diseases which can be detected using machine learning. Some are Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, sleep disorder. These are neurological disorders. One of the common neurological disorder is epilepsy. I am going to give some detailed idea about the epilepsy, as machine learning is also nowadays used to diagnose the epilepsy also. So what is epilepsy? First we should know what is epilepsy. Epilepsy is the pathological condition. First is epilepsy is a neurological disorder. Epilepsy is a neurological disorder. It is basically a pathological condition which is characterized by spontaneous and unpredictable occurrence of seizures. What is seizure? Some of you may know or some of you may not know. Seizures are basically in common language known as fits. Fits, all you are aware with the terminology fits, or in Hindi language we call it as mirgi. So seizure is basically a pathological condition which occurs due to the firing of large number of neurons in particular area of brain. And it is the second most common brain disorder after stroke as per the WHO. So as per the WHO report, recent WHO report, 50 million patients worldwide suffer with this disease, and out of these 50 million patients reside only in developing countries. Even one research by Rao and et al., these are the Indian authors. In India, they have given the data as about 10 million people suffer with the epilepsy. These are the recorded data. In India, we have many villages where no record come. So maybe more than 10 million people are suffered with this common problem. So next aim, how we can use machine learning for detection of seizures and why we need this thing. So epilepsy can be controlled if it is properly timely diagnosed and treated. Epilepsy cannot be cured completely, but it can be controlled if it is timely detected. So for epilepsy detection, for seizure detection, we should have some data for generating algorithm, for developing algorithm based on machine learning. We should have some data. So how data can be recorded? So there are different brain imaging techniques. Few you are aware with, few you are not. There are different brain imaging techniques by which data can be collected and work can be done. So most important three I have taken. There are many more. First one is the EEG. EEG is electroencephalogram. You must have heard about ECG. Everyone is familiar with the term ECG. ECG is electrocardiogram. Electrocardiogram is the signal which is we get from the heart, where EEG is the signal which we get from the brain. So EEG signals are due to the electrical activity in the brain. Next is MEG. So for recording the EEG signal, we have this kind of cap. In this kind of cap, we have these small black dots like thing. These are known as electrodes. These electrodes are used to read the EEG data from the brain. Now next device is the MEG. MEG is magneto-electroencephalograms. In this we put the subject under this kind of magnetic field. This is a large device. And third one is the fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging. fMRI is a very big and costly setup where what we get, where we get the signal in terms of images. Here we get the signals in terms of 1D data. Here we get the signal in terms of 2D data, images sort of thing. Because now generation, you all are very active, you know very much things, many things. So you have idea of how kind of MRI images looks. If someone want to work, research or to make any project related to fMRI, they can also use machine learning to detect a particular disease. So this is the basic difference between EEG and MRI. Most common out of those three, mainly either in labs we use EEG or we use MRI. So there are two things. One is temporal resolution, another one is spatial resolution. Temporal resolution means time. At what time we are going to have that particular seizure. What we are studying, seizure is a state that can occur in the mind for a while, for some duration only, for few seconds only. So at what time it will occur, this can be detected nicely by the EEG, but this temporal resolution is low in MRI. But if a surgeon wants to do a surgery to remove that particular area, if it can be, so that the patient may not have seizure in future, so they need at which area, at this scalp, under this scalp, at which area, that location. So this decide the location. Spatial means the location where the seizure is originated. So that is low, that resolution is low in case of EEG, but high in MRI. So MRI is basically used by the professionals, by the the neurologists, but at research level, at lab level, what we use mostly EEG. Why? Because of these advantages. One is the cost. Overall setup cost is not much costly, so that researchers in the lab may afford that particular thing. While MRI setup, as you all are aware with the MRI setup, there are many restrictions to go into the MRI. So put that there. Put that there. Yes. So there are many restrictions in the case of MRI room where directly we cannot go. It is a big setup. So large expensive funding is required. In big hospitals only we can get the MRI machines. Portability. If we talk about the portability characteristic, then it is not portable. Setup is really very difficult to do, so it is not portable. While EEG in my lab, in the lab which I was working, we have the InnoBio machine. InnoBio, you can search about this InnoBio machine. InnoBio machine is used for, there are many more also, but we have used InnoBio, in which, through which we can record the EG signals. This is like a briefcase kind of structure. In all the things can come into a briefcase, and we can carry it anywhere in the lab, in any department or anywhere where we want to collect the data. So very portable. So for researches, mainly we go with the EEG. But from good hospitals, if we are able to get the data, we can go for fMRI images also. So again, now I am coming to EEG, because EEG is easy. At the last of this session, I am going to inform you about some of the publicly available data set on which you can start working if someone wants to. So EEG data, EEG basically is what? EEG is the brain signals. So during seizure, what occurs? There is some abnormal changes in these electrical activity. If we are able to detect particular change, then we can get the detection of seizure. So electroencephalography is the technique used to record for brain activity and change in electrical potential with respect to time. So EEG is always noted with respect to time. So in the earlier slide, what I have shown a EEG cap. So that is like this only. EEG. There are different standards which were followed by the word. One is the 10-20 electrode placement system. There are different electrode placement system. One should have idea about the placement system, then only they can record the data. So this is the there are two reference main point. One is nasion. Nasion is basically here, just top of the nose. This is the reference point, first reference point, and next reference point is the inion. Inion is here somewhere at the top of the neck. This point is known as inion. 10-20 means what? If we measure the distance from this nasion to inion in centimeter, then we can split into 10% and 20%. The first electrode should be put after 10% difference, then 20% difference. This is the meaning of 10-20 system. Now, one more thing. Here you are observing that somewhere it is written as F, somewhere it is written as P, somewhere it is written as T and O. Basically, these labelings are given as per the brain regions. Brain basically divided into 5 parts. Out of 5, these are the 4. One is known as frontal. Frontal is this area. Frontal area basically whatever we do, motor movements, if we are picking up any bottle, that motor movement, for that particular movement also we get information from the brain only. Now that information comes from the frontal area, means this kind of thing. Parietal area is in between. Parietal area basically gives the information about the touch perception. So whatever touch perception or the skin is burned, whatever we feel, that thing comes from the parietal region. Next is the temporal. Temporal means temporal is behind the ears. This area is here. This temporal area basically is the auditory system of the brain. Means whatever we are listening goes to the temporal area, and all the processing information we get from the temporal area. So temporal is behind the ears, and even what I am speaking right now, whatever we speak, language comprehension is done at this area. Last one is this occipital, is this back side. Whatever we see, this area is basically responsive to vision. Whatever we see and whatever we predict, that processing is done in this occipital region, which is at the back of the head, back of the brain. Now, this is the basic idea about the EEG, how we record EEG signal. One thing is there, why we are studying this, all these things. So there are what is a signal, electrical signal. So every signal has some magnitude, every signal has some phase, every signal has some frequency. So depending on the frequency, whatever we consider, high frequency generally includes noise. Brain signals also, high frequency brain signals includes noise. So these EEG signals are basically divided into 4 bands: alpha, beta, gamma, theta and delta. These frequency ranges depends on the working condition of our mind. So first start with the beta band. Beta comes from 13 hertz to 30 hertz. This frequency occurs when we are in awake condition, when we are involving in some mathematical operation. Even if you are going to measure EEG signal right now, my EEG signal, I am involving in activity, a mental activity. I am delivering the session. So I am involving in a mental activity. So what kind of frequency I am going to have in EEG signal? Beta signal. Next is the alpha. Alpha is the awake and resting. We are awake. Yes, we are logging the session, but we are not actively listening the session. We are just here logged in the session just for the sake of attendance, or ma'am has said, that's why. Then you must have the EEG signal of 8 to 13. Next is the theta. Theta is someone slept. Someone has slept during the lecture. If we are going to measure that his or her EEG signal, that will come under theta range. That is 4 to 8 hertz. These bands are very important before next step. Next is the delta. Delta results while we are in deep sleep. If we sleep around 11 or 12, then if we measure the EEG around 2 or 3 a.m., that time we must have this deep sleep EEG, which will be below 4 hertz, means 0 to 4 hertz. Here I have shown some graph, if it is visible clearly. Frequency means number of cycles per second, we know this thing. So here you can observe this D plot is for delta, A is for the highest frequency, beta means large signals, means something is going on mind. So this is beta. Here in this condition, very less changes, but brain always works even while sleeping also. So here we get very low frequency signals. So these are the different frequency bands. Basically we are going to detect seizures automatically using computer vision techniques. So we need to have some idea about the frequency also, because at higher frequency we don't have seizure, we have seizure around 0 to 40 hertz. So this is the sample EEG, because next I am going to cover why we are going to use machine learning for the detection of seizures. So before that I am going to explain, give idea about this, how does this EEG signal look like. So this is the sample EEG signal, in which you can see here these are known as channel. Channels are nothing, number of electrodes which we put at different area of the brain. These terms as known as electrodes. Here I have shown 24 channel signal, but in hospitals if we go, they use 64 channel signal, 128, even nowadays 256 channel electrode cap is also there to measure the EEG signal. So traditional method of seizure detection is by visually scanning of this kind of EEG signal. So how you can interpret? As a layman, you or me cannot interpret when seizure occur or when seizure doesn't occur. So for this we need a trained neurologist only. So this is the sample EEG from where we can get many kind of seizure may occur in any of the channel. It doesn't mean that if seizure occur, it will occur in whole brain. No, at particular area in 2 or 3 electrodes only it will get effect. So what is the need of automatic detection? Automatic detection means what? Detection of seizure using machine learning, where machine is going to train by some data set of seizures and non-seizures EEG signals. Then here what initially we have studied about the machine learning basic operation, where we divide the data into 2 category A or category B. Here what are the 2 categories? One category is seizure EEG, another category is non-seizure EEG. Now I am making it simple to understand what machine learning can do. Machine learning will do what thing? It will categorize the signals into 2 parts. One is seizure, another one is non-seizure. Then it will classify. So what is the need of automatic detection? As we have seen earlier, the sample of EEG signal, by looking at what we get, there are some drawbacks. We need a trained neurologist. If a patient is admitted in a hospital, we need a trained neurologist 24/7, because seizure occurs only once or twice in a day or in a few days for few seconds only. So for that time, it is not necessary someone is sitting behind the patient and observing the EEG signal continuously. So it is not possible manually. So that's why we need some automatic detector. It is a time-consuming process because there are involving of multi-channel EEG. Multi-channel means what? 24 channels may be there, 64 channels may be there or more. So it is a time-consuming process. Chances of human error may be there because it is not easy to read that particular EEG data. Even availability of neurologists is not there. Developing countries like India, in every hospital we don't have the trained neurologists or trained staff to get those readings read, so that the patient can be prevented from the harm. Because as we know, fits are the things in may during that patient can harm themselves also. Fit, everyone is aware with the Mirgi kind of Dora. So what is the solution? Solution can be any automatic system that can easily detect the seizures timely. Means if I am a patient, I may have that particular disease of having seizures, having fit any time. If I am driving a car and I can get an alert, I can get any alarm that I am wearing a device which can give an alarm that you are going to have that seizure, predict the seizure. Then what will happen? I can stop the car. If I am climbing the stair, I can sit somewhere, so that if it occurs, I can get my medicine also, or at least put rest for some time, so that patient can can avoid any harm, because during that activity they can stop that particular activity. So they can assess their anti-epileptic drugs, so it will again not produce some harm. That's why we need the automatic detection. Like any other pattern recognition problem, here also we have 3 main steps. What we need data for any machine learning operation. What is the data in this particular case? The data is the raw EEG signal which we are collected from the electrode system. Now, what are the 3 basic blocks? As you people are studying emotion recognition and chatbot designing in your disruptive, you know that we have 3 main blocks for this kind machine learning operation. One is pre-processing, another one is feature extraction, another one is classification. So what is pre-processing? Pre-processing is required to remove noise. Any kind of noise should be removed before using the data. We call it as raw data because it may have some noise also. Means notch filtering. Why we need? Because power line interference of 50 hertz may be there. The signal which comes in India is 50 hertz signal. The device which is used to record this EEG signal is working on that particular AC supply. So we need some filtering. We need band pass filter. Why we need to band pass filter? So that we can get 0.5 to 40 hertz signal, because we know all the operation will work under this only. Above higher frequencies are not of use. DC removal means zero line interference. If there, so that should be removed. Next step is the feature extraction. Feature extractions are of different features plays very important role. Very important role. Again, I am saying, if you extract good features which can differentiate into two classes. What are the two classes here? One is the Caesar class A. Another one is the non-Caesar class B. So what we are going, normal EEG can be considered as non-Caesar, and during Caesar activity we get a Caesar EEG. So we are going to classify these two kind of EEG. So we will extract feature from both types of data. These can be of time domain, time frequency domain, and time frequency domain. What is the meaning of time domain? If we segment the EEG signal are nothing. These are the samples which are collected particular time. We can segment this signal into epochs of or window of 1 second or any other second, so that we may have some samples in this duration. What we can do, we can take mean of these number of samples. For example, let us assume we have considered 256 samples in a window. So what we can take mean or median or any other statistical parameter to extract the feature that will term as time based features. Frequency means what? We can take power spectral density. We can take maximum frequency, that is frequency domain. Use time frequency domain is wavelet transforms. Wavelet transform is another topic of research where we can spend a whole day to understand the wavelet transform. After extracting the features from Caesar EEG and non-Caesar EEG, what we use a classifier. Classifier can be of different technique, LDA, linear discriminant analysis, support vector machine, or any other classifier we can use. So what will be the output? Output will depend on training of this classifier. Initially, what we do the training of this classifier using Caesar features and using non-Caesar features. We label Caesar. For example, let us assume non-Caesar features are labeled as 0 and Caesar features are labeled as 1. Then we use the test data for which we have actual labels, so that we can compare then it is classified correctly or not. So depending on the classification technique, it will classify. So one of the example of Caesar detection I am showing here of the linear classifier. In this linear classifier, what we did, we have given the classifier. Let us assume we have total 500 features of Caesar EEG, 500 features of non-Caesar. Let us assume only we should have a lot of data for proper classification. Here I am assuming. So out of these samples, what we do, we divide these samples into two parts. You know this thing, training part and test part. Let us assume what we did, we use 400 Caesar and 400 non-Caesar for training, and remaining 100 features we have used for test purpose. So what we do, we provide label 0 to non-Caesar here, we provided label 1 to Caesar features here. So these red squares showing Caesar class and this blue showing non-Caesar class. So if this is the test sample, and here this is the linear classifier, linear discriminant analysis, in which we draw a hyperplane which discriminate these two kind of features. So if this test sample comes under this side of the line, then it will be classified as non-Caesar, means class 0. If it comes this side of the line, then it will be classified as Caesar class. Simple, nothing extra is happening here. Here also we are doing classification of two types of things, means binary classification we are performing. So this is the example for Caesar detection. So all these were about the Caesar detection, which is a neurological disorder. Now next, one last thing is to test data. Can be labeled as 0 or 1. In this example, this will be labeled as 0, non-Caesar. Now, This is the example for the classification of cancer detection. In the similar process, we should have the data from the cancer patients. These are the features. One is the age, another one is the number of malignant nodes. So these blue dots are showing survived patients. These orange dots are showing did not survive patients. If now, which kind of classifier I am showing here as an example? Earlier was the linear discriminant analysis. Here I am showing KNN, K nearest neighbor. If K is equals to 1, I am assume means it will measure the distance between this test sample and this. It will measure this distance. Next, what will happen? It will detect it as not survived case. So one way won't work, one won't work. Mostly what we do, we use some odd number like 3, 5, then we go for KNN. So if we use, let us assume K is the number of features from which we are going to read the distance. So it will calculate distance from 3 nearest feature, 1, 2 and 3. Then it will do polling. What it will do, it will give the vote to this feature set, means survived one. So predicted value will be the survived one. Simple problem, nothing much. Just we need to know how to read that particular data, how to extract the features. Then last classification stage is same, simple. Well, now performance parameters, there are many performance parameters. Here I have covered only 3 performance parameters which are generally used for disease detection. These are sensitivity, specificity and accuracy. Sensitivity means, for example, if we call about the disease, so disease means example seizure is detected as seizure means correct classification. Then it will defined as sensitivity. Specificity means if non-seizure means there is healthy case. That healthy case is defined as is classified as healthy only. Then it will be the specificity. Accuracy means what? Total accuracy. It means disease cases and healthy cases both are correctly identified. Then it will enhance the accuracy. Sometimes sensitivity is good. Sometimes sensitivity is good means seizure is classified as seizure. But if non-seizure is classified as seizure, then specificity is poor. We should not get this thing. We should have good specificity also, because if person is not getting seizure, still alarm is blowing that seizure is coming, then it will make difficulty for the patient and for the caregivers. Here 4 important terms are there which we call always in the classification: true positive, true negative, false positive, false negative. True positive means the disease is classified as disease. This is true. True means correct classification. False means not correct. Not correct classification. Means true negative means healthy is getting healthy answer. False positive means the disease is not present, healthy is determined as disease. Then this is false positive. False negative means a seizure is present, but still the algo is saying that not present. So false negative. So based on these 4 parameters, we calculate these 3 parameters: accuracy, specificity, and sensitivity. Next is the confusion matrix. Most commonly used. This confusion matrix is very good thing to determine these parameters. So in this axis, we have reference class means true class. Whatever labels are known, actual labels. Predicted class means the classifier output. This is the classifier output. Let us assume 100 test samples are given for seizure, 100 are given for non-seizure. Out of 100 seizure, 96 are detected. This is seizure positive. Out of 100 seizures, 2 are detected as negative. 2 are seizure but detected as negatives. So it is known as false negative. 98 are seizure detected as seizure. So it is true positive. Similarly for negative, non-seizure condition, normal condition of the EEG, true negative and false positive. Depending on this example, these values are calculated. Now this I am going to winding up my session in 2 or 3 minutes only. So this was all about the how we implement the machine learning for the field of disease detection. Neurological disease detection can be there, cancer detection can be there. So this was the idea about that, how we can do this thing. So now this is the recent survey report from the NESCOM and from the NITI Aayog, that NESCOM said 1.4 lakh jobs remain vacant in AI, and we are seeing always jobs are not there, recession is there, but still because of lack of training, because of lack of skill set, these positions remain vacant. NITI Aayog recently said that emerging technologies are adopted uh, in the worldwide like this, means IoT and smart sensors and artificial intelligence is 66% and 67%, and other emerging technologies are also there which are developing these days very drastically. So this is my last slide. A competition which was held in China, where AI defeated top doctors team in competition to detect cancer. The data was provided in the form of fMRI to the team of doctors, trained neurologists, and to the AI based system. So AI predicted it fastly and more accurately than the doctor's team. So this was all about the just basically how we use learning in the field of medical sciences. Any query, if you may have, you can ask. Gurmeet ma'am? Gurpreet ma'am? Yes, beta, I have finished the session. If any query is there, performance, no query. Performance evaluation means whatever we are doing, that is giving the good performance or not. If we are appearing for a sessional test, we are getting the marks or not. So means that thing. So classifier does need performance evaluation. If you want to know it in detail, you can come to me anytime. I will explain it in detail, how confusion matrix is formed, how we can do the performance evaluation of the classifier. Because time is short and some students are saying, ma'am, finish the session. Any more query? Okay, Gurpreet ma'am. Thank you, students. Thank you so much, students. You can leave the session. If anyone has query, they may remain in the session. I can solve the query also in detail if someone, one or two student wants to that thing.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Garima ma'am, to give us a. I'm audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much to share your view on machine learning with us. I think most of the students have enjoyed this session. And if you have any query, you can put in the chat box. Otherwise, you can leave the session.
Yes, I
And thank
said
you so
them.
much to. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I said them. They can leave the session, or if anyone has query, you can unmute yourself and ask the query. I think either one or two student may have the query. Most of them will not have. They have not listened the lecture. No
So I
query.
think, ma'am, there is a no query. So we can stop this session now.
I am
Okay, ma'am.
also
Thank you
leaving.
so much, ma'am.
If anyone has query, they can ask me personally also. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
You can share your email ID, ma'am.
Okay. my email ID I'm going to write in the chat box. Even they can 0 room number for any query. I have given my email ID to the students in chat. This is okay. So, ma'am, let's end the session.
Ma'am, you can leave the session. I'm going to end this session. Thank you.